Good day, fellow moviegoers, and welcome back to another episode of Hammer D20, the show that can't wait for that snow to come down. If only for it so I don't feel so guilty when I'm staying inside all the time. My name is Stevan Sobot, and I will be your guide. Today we're going to speak to two artistic creators. One, a director of one of the films I reviewed during the Hamilton Film Festival, and another, a comic book creator who I met during the Hamilton Comic Con. My next guest for this episode is Rick Piper, the creator of Cross Comics. Now, what is Cross Comics, you ask? Cross Comics is a local comic book company that is meant to be an alternative to the mainstream comic book industry, featuring Canadian superheroes that are affected or powered through divine intervention from God. As said on the website, Cross Comics loves God first, people second, and comics third. So I spoke to Rick about Cross Comics, what it's all about, who are his main cast, why he started it, and what he has planned for the future. Steven, over to you. Thank you, Steven. Now, Rick, what exactly is Cross Comics?
Cross Comics is obviously a comic company that I created quite some time ago, back in my teens. Because, I grew up watching, Super Friends and all that sort of stuff, I'm, born in the 70s, so I watched, all the superhero stuff in that. And then I got into, reading the comics, and I noticed I'm a Christian, and I noticed there wasn't any real Christian superheroes. Yes, you have all your Bible story, and some of those guys could be probably considered in today's terms superheroes.
Yeah.
Samson with its super strength and all that.
Yeah.
But I decided, okay, why don't I create the Christian superheroes? So at that point, that's when Cross Comics was born. I didn't have that name back then, but I started developing my own characters and all that. Of course, they were nowhere near as developed as they are now. So the short version is a Christian comic company, but we try not to bang it over your head, because you want to draw people in, but so you can't bang it over their head. So the heroes are Christian. They tell a little bit of the Christ thing. Most of the time God is responsible for them becoming the hero in some way.
So Cross Comics, and that's like the companies, and I see in the background, and I saw at the Hamilton Comic Con, Canadian Shield. Now, okay, so first, the big question that everyone was probably asking now, who is Canadian Shield? Who is that guy?
Canadian Shield is a Native American born in the early 1800s. He is transported by God through time to present day, modern day, however you want to word that. And not to give him a culture shock, because he is from the Hamilton area back in the 1800s. But I put him up way, way, way up north, like nowhere near civilization. So he's put 100 miles north of that, So, and then God takes a suit from the future that is advanced, made by the Canadian government in secret, sort of like Alpha Flight,
yep.
Department H of Marvel, but Cross Comics version. So.
Excellent. Yep.
They developed this Canadian suit that, enhances the wearer's abilities, basically making him into a virtual Superman, except for the heat vision, cold breath type thing.
Yeah.
So he takes the suit, transports it back through time to present day, modern day, where he's put the Canadian shield, and the suit appears there. A second or two later, God sends an angel to tell him to put the suit on and travel south. He's going to eventually make his way back to Hamilton.
So most of the stories, I'm assuming, aren't just the travels. It's more so him when he's in Hamilton, yeah?
No, they're going to be the first about 17, 18 issues are going to be the travel.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
He's going to fight villains along the way. I have already a little basic map planned out, travel. He starts in one city and ends in another city in an issue. And in the next issue, except for the first issue, he starts in the next comic, he'll start in the city that he left off on, and then end up in another city. I
guess then, you had mentioned 17 issues. I'm assuming he doesn't just have one villain. Is there one reoccurring?
There's a multitude of villains. I'm right now, and I've crowdfunded number 2. It's almost done. It should actually be hopefully be printed in January and delivered to people.
Okay.
That's still in demand on Indiegogo for anybody who wants to get it.
Excellent.
I have several other characters that I'm bringing out. In fact, in the campaign for his issue 2, I have issue 1 of my character Snowdrift.
Okay.
So, and with each campaign I do, I'm going to be adding another character when I get up to, we'll say, campaign 7. So
Gotcha.
I have 7 main characters, which will eventually form my Avengers or, Justice League, if you will.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. You mentioned Snowdrift. Who's that? What's that all about?
She is a co-based character, as the name sort of suggests.
Yes, yeah.
She was in 1950. She gets accepted to do some sort of research thing up in the Canadian Arctic, and so she's leading the expedition. It takes about a year to get her group together, and a freak snowstorm hits. Exhaustion and trying to get back to base camp, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
She ends up falling down and getting buried in snow. But as she does, she's like, "Help, God!" And God sort of puts her into a suspended animation type thing, frozen, and sort of making snow and ice part of her or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then again, modern day, present day. A guy that's living up in that area named Rick Arrow, he ends up going out from a walk from his cabin. He finds her all unburied because, over the, 70 years or so, the snow gets all blown away. And he finds her, picks her up, brings her to his cabin, just by the nudging of God, puts her in front of the fire, and she thaws out. And so she's got her powers, and then, he helps her get relocated back into society, and that, and then there's an incident she ends up becoming a waitress. There ends up being like a robbery, so the staff all get put in the freezer.
Jeez,
Everybody else passes out. She's wondering why. She starts struggling with the door to try and get the thing because the crooks locked it. As she's doing it and getting frustrated, suddenly the door and everything around the door just becomes solid ice. What the?
Oh, they're cool.
Then, she's like, "What the heck?" And whams on the ice. It just breaks.
Sick. You mentioned earlier before we even did this interview that you were not only creator and I guess like the owner of the Cross Comics, but you've done also illustrations in this and that. So like, what part of the comics do you do?
In the first book, I did the pencils, a little bit of the inks. Then a friend of mine from California beefed up my inks, made them better. That was for the first book. For these 2 books, I'm doing the coloring. For my 2 books that are on Indiegogo, I've been doing the coloring. I hired somebody else out for the inking, the penciling and the inking. They're better than me, so hey, I've got no problems with that. Although I've been slowly getting better. So Canadian Shield 3, I'm thinking of trying to do it myself digitally.
What have you taken as inspiration?
Well, I definitely say DC and Marvel. They're different things. I take the good stuff out of them. Some of the try and get rid of the bad. Like their continuity is not really good. I'd like to try and keep a good continuity right from the start.
Yeah,
my Christian faith, obviously, because
right
Bible stuff, and it's supposed to be a Christian comic company, so going to take some inspiration from there too.
Sure. Where can you find Cross Comics material, and where can you purchase it?
At the moment, you can purchase it on Indiegogo because I'm proud. Well, it's in demand. Like I said, I did a crowdfunding back on June 24th. I've been coloring it since. And what else? You can also get some. Once the Indiegogo is shut down, you can obviously get stuff on my website across comics. I've got to reprint some issue 1, so right now the only digital is available for number 1.
So you've been to Hamilton Comic Con. Are there any future cons that you're planning on going to?
I do want to get to some. I'm not sure what. There's a Pop Culture Canada cons. I'm not sure whether you've heard of them. I've seen them through Facebook.
Yeah.
I've been to a couple of those. I went down to like LA to a Christian Comic Con.
Oh, really nice. Oh, what's that called?
Alpha Omega Con.
And how was that? Just out of curiosity.
That wasn't bad. I didn't make any money, but I took a bus all the way there and all the way back from Buffalo. That was an experience seeing the state's countryside. I stayed in LA for 5 days a week. So, that was pretty, neat too. So I'm willing to, if I have the money, I'm willing to go to extraordinary lengths
to get this. Yeah. Well, I mean, so you're putting the work in, Rick, and I'm happy for you. I wish all the success for you. And with that, I think I'm just gonna throw it back to you, Steven. Thank you, Steven.